So for gel electrophoresis, we need the DNA, the restriction enzymes, the agarose gel, the probes, the X-ray film, the nylon membrane, and the tray. Okay, so step 1 is we pour the restriction enzymes into the found DNA. The restriction enzymes act as scissors, cutting the long DNA molecules. The DNA is cut depending on the DNA sequence specific to each enzyme. For example, if the enzyme encounters a sequence like GAATTC, they will cut there. Everyone has different sizes of this code. Okay, step 2. We pour the agarose gel into the tray. This creates a gel-like substance and acts like a strainer, which allows the small DNA pieces to pass through, and the smaller DNA pieces pass faster than the larger DNA pieces. Okay, step 3 is adding the DNA into the tray. Now the DNA fragments are found in the holes of the agarose gel. Step 4 is we turn the tray on. This is where the electrophoresis begins. The electrophoresis is the moving of the molecules with an electric current. Since DNA has a negative charge, they move towards the positive end. Electrophoresis distributes the DNA fragments to the gel according to length. Shorter moves faster. Step 5 is we add the nylon membrane on top of the gel. Doing so transfers the DNA onto the membrane, allowing us to see it easier. Step 6 is we add the probes onto the nylon gel. Doing so cleans off the excess DNA, leaving only the important parts we need, which are the fragments with the codes. Step 7 is we place the X-ray film onto the nylon membrane, which allows us to see everything easier. Step 8 is we take the film and we develop it in the developer, and this shows our DNA. And the result we get is this. We basically get something that looks like this. And then we take this and compare it to the other DNA found in the crime scene, which gives us the victim or the suspect or anyone who was involved in the crime.
Hello, this is LHS Network. Here, we have Nathaniel Hatchett, who was arrested for a crime that he didn't commit. Please tell us the story of how you were convicted.
I was 17 years old when I was arrested in Michigan for a rape I didn't commit. Although the DNA testing pointed to the innocence before trial, I was convicted to 25 to 40 years in prison. I would serve a decade in prison before the DNA test led to my exoneration. On the night of November 11, 1996, a woman was attacked by a hooded man as she entered the car outside Super K Market store in Sterling Heights, Michigan. The man attacked her, made her perform oral sex while he drove, and later on he pulled over and raped her. They stopped and he made her get out of the car, where later on she went to a donut store and reported the crime.
What evidence did they hold against you?
There were two little boys who were eyewitnesses that described a similar looking man, and a couple days later they found me driving the same car that was used at the crime. I was taken to the police department and I confessed because the police told me if I confessed I could go home, but they lied. The pubic hair was collected from the victim's car and was subjected to microscopic testing, and they said it had similar characteristics to my pubic hair. And later on, the victim identified me as the person who raped her.
This must have been very hard. Can you please tell us the story of how you were exonerated and how did science help?
A year later, I sent a file saying that I want my DNA tested again because I wanted to prove my innocence. They agreed, and they said even though the first time the DNA testing was wrong, that was one out of the 3 evidence that proved my innocence. Later on, the Innocence Project, thank God they helped me. They accepted my case in 2006 and began researching for the biological evidence. The evidence was taken for the state police crime lab, and the DNA testing. Later on, the semen sample and the vaginal swab excluded me from being the one who committed the crime. The charges were dismissed, and I was released on April the 14th, 2008.
How was your life after prison?
My life after prison was very difficult. I can't find a job due to the fact that I was in prison for 10 years and I don't have a high school degree, nor do I have a work history. I live with my mother in Detroit and my family is very, very poor.
Was there any compensation for what they'd done?
Sadly, not what I was looking for. I requested $75 million and only received $3.7 million as a settlement. This is not what I was looking for.
Thank you for joining us, Nathaniel. We are very sorry for what happened. We hope that the Innocence Project continues to help other people get exonerated. Thank you for joining us at LHS Network. Welcome back to LHS Network. Here, we're at the CODIS HQ and we have Sarah to help give us some information. Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Can you please tell us what the purpose of CODIS is?
It allows labs to exchange and compare DNA profiles electronically, linking serial violent crimes to each other and to unknown offenders.
When was CODIS created?
In 1994.
What is the function of CODIS?
There are 4 primary functions. There is the DNA profile entry and management, which is manual entry of DNA profiles in the database. There is searching, the function that allows the database profiles to be searched. There is match management, the function that manages search results. For example, it allows laboratory to record and distinguish whether a particular match is an offender or a hit or a forensic hit. And there is the statistical calculations, the function that allows laboratory personnel to calculate profile statistics to show how rare or common a DNA profile is.
How successful is CODIS?
The success depends on how many crimes it solves.
What are some of the risks?
The family members share at least half of the DNA, so they could get mixed up. This is like the major risk in the CODIS.
Thank you for joining us. Here at LHS Network, we work our hardest to get you exclusive information. Thank you for joining us.
STR stands for short tandem repeats. In the DNA, there are many sequences which can be repeated, and therefore this creates the STR. Just like here, GATA is repeated many times. STRs are usually found in the center of the chromosomes. Well, what is PCR? PCR is polymerase chain reaction. This is a technique used in labs to make millions of copies of a particular section of DNA, like here. Here we can see that one DNA sample was used to create another, which created another, and therefore many others were created. We can use PCR to amplify, which means create many copies, and therefore we can create many copies of STR, like here. We can use PCR to amplify, which is create many copies, and therefore we can create many copies of the STR, like here. We used PCR to create many copies of the STR that was gotten. I believe that by using PCR and STR together, it's very helpful, especially during investigations, and it can possibly lead to the exoneration of someone who was wrongfully accused. Therefore, by using these tools, we can help free the innocent. The use of biotechnology and forensics can lead to many great possibilities now that it's being used to help the wrongfully accused, like Nathaniel Hatchett.